High above the noise of Hollywood, hidden behind towering hedges and shaded by whispering sycamore trees, sits a home that doesn't scream for attention. It listens. Behind its mid-century modern glass walls lives a man who has become everyone. Dracula, Sirius Black, Churchill, yet remains almost invisible in real life. But what does a chameleon call home? Today we step inside the hidden sanctuary of Gary Oldman, where design meets silence and art finds its refuge. He was never meant to be famous. Born in 1958 in the working-class borough of New Cross, South London, Gary Leonard Oldman didn't grow up dreaming of red carpets or golden statues. His childhood was colored not by glamour, but by absence. At just 7 years old, his father, a sailor and a heavy drinker, walked out of the family's life, leaving young Gary with a hole that no performance could ever quite fill. But what does a boy do with silence? With pain? Some shut down. Gary transformed. He dropped out of school at 16, working in a sports shop by day, absorbing the rhythm of everyday people, their gestures, their voices, their weariness. He studied them the way a future actor studies a script. That same year, he saw A Clockwork Orange, and Malcolm McDowell's performance didn't just impress him, it haunted him. That, he thought, is what I want to do. That's what I have to do. And so, against every odd, Oldman threw himself into acting, not as a hobby, as survival. He trained at the Rose Bruford College of Speech and Drama, graduating not with fanfare but with relentless grit. While classmates chased agents and spotlight, Gary hit the stage, hard. He devoured roles, not for applause, but for truth. His early work with the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow was electric. He didn't just play characters, he disappeared into them, and the audience followed. The moment that changed everything came in 1984 with The Pope's Wedding. His portrayal was raw, wounded, alive. Critics couldn't ignore him. He won the Time Out Fringe Award and a Theatre Critics Award, but more importantly, he won the attention of cinema. Enter Sid and Nancy. At first, he didn't want the part. Sid vicious, punk rock, not his world, but after some coaxing and a better paycheck, he said yes. And what followed was a haunting, heartbreaking transformation into the Sex Pistols' doomed bassist. The world finally saw what London theatergoers had known for years. Gary Oldman was a force of nature. Suddenly, Hollywood opened its doors. From Prick Up Your Ears to Dracula, from JFK to The Fifth Element, he morphed again and again. Lovers, tyrants, gangsters, legends. With each role, he shattered the idea of typecasting. Roger Ebert called him the best young British actor today. Quentin Tarantino offered him roles. Francis Ford Coppola trusted him with Dracula. But all the while, Oldman stayed elusive. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing meaning. He turned down Edward Scissorhands, avoided blockbusters, even disappeared from the spotlight entirely when Hollywood politics became too loud. Yet like any great actor, he returned, stronger. Harry Potter gave him Sirius Black, a role that brought out his soul. The Dark Knight trilogy cast him as Commissioner Gordon, quiet, steady, human. And in Darkest Hour, as Winston Churchill, he gave a performance so complete, so thunderous, it won him the Oscar. And then, he went home, to a quiet green cul-de-sac in the Hollywood Hills, to a house that doesn't need chandeliers to shine, a place where glass meets light and peace meets the man who has spent his life becoming everyone else. So what kind of home do you build when your career is built on transformation? Let's step into the modernist haven that Gary Oldman calls home. A house as thoughtful, quiet, and masterfully constructed as the man himself. Mansion in Hollywood Hills. Tucked away at the very end of a secluded cul-de-sac, Gary Oldman's Hollywood Hills residence doesn't scream celebrity excess. It whispers intention. Here, High above the endless churn of Los Angeles, the house stands like a sculpture, a rare mid-century modern marvel valued at $2 million, crafted by a visionary post-war architect who also helped shape the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. This isn't just real estate, it's a love letter to light, space, and stillness. But what makes a house like this feel like home to one of cinema's greatest shapeshifters? The entrance is simple, almost understated. A minimalist gate opens to a pathway surrounded by mature greenery. Ferns, palms, wild ivy that twist like nature's own set design. And then, the moment you step inside, the city disappears. The house unfolds like a story. Clean lines, open space, and a silence that feels sacred. Its design is rooted in organic modernism, where structure doesn't dominate nature. It dances with it. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls erase boundaries between inside and out. At every angle, your eyes are pulled outward, to the sunlit garden, to the swaying treetops, to the soft canyons of Runyon just beyond. Inside, every surface tells a story. Polished concrete floors stretch beneath your feet, cool, smooth, quietly luxurious. The cabinetry? All custom-built. The tiles, bisaza, glimmering subtly in the California light. The radiant floor heating hums gently beneath you, while curved architectural lighting spills soft illumination overhead. This is a home that breathes. The living room is anchored by a modern fireplace, a nod to comfort without abandoning style. It flows seamlessly into the dining area and a sleek, high-end kitchen where steel appliances meet stone countertops and warm wood cabinetry. Here, Oldman can cook a quiet meal, maybe scribble notes for a character on a napkin, all while birdsong filters in from the open terrace. And that terrace? Oh, the terrace. It stretches along the back of the house, shaded by a modern pergola. This is where Gary comes to think, to read, to just be. The views are meditative, sunlight filtering through tree branches, the whisper of canyon winds, and the distant, muted hum of a city he once conquered but no longer needs. Everything in the home is built for intention. The walls don't just hold art, they are art. The furniture is built in, flowing with the angles of the house. Electronic window shades glide at the push of a button, adapting to mood and moment. A state-of-the-art media system hides in plain sight. The two-car garage is tucked beneath, discreet but essential. Even the light here feels different. It's not aggressive or overexposed. It's soft, like it's been waiting to illuminate this life. For Oldman, whose world once revolved around transformation, around stepping into the skin of others, this home is where he sheds all masks, where Gary the actor becomes Gary the man. It's not hard to imagine him here, walking barefoot across cool concrete, a dog at his heels, a book in hand, perhaps sipping tea in the early morning while fog curls over the hills, or quietly writing as sunlight spills across the kitchen island. This home, like the man himself, has no need for spectacle. It's not loud. It listens. And when Oldman steps out of this sanctuary, he often does it not in a limo, not behind blacked-out windows, but in something equally deliberate, equally poetic. His cars aren't just vehicles, they're statements. They move like him, with purpose. Cars. Gary Oldman has spent a lifetime transforming on screen, sliding between accents, eras, even species. So perhaps it's no surprise that his taste in cars is just as chameleonic. Unlike many Hollywood stars who flaunt fleets of hypercars, Oldman's garage reflects a subtler truth. Each vehicle in his collection is a mirror of a chapter in his life. Practical, poetic, occasionally powerful, always personal. Let's step inside his garage, not to gawk, but to listen. Because every engine here has a story. Cars, Honda Civic, 1.4i Sport. At first glance, it seems almost out of place. A Civic? In the garage of an Oscar-winning actor? But this modest 1.4i Sport is more than metal and mileage. It's a tribute to where he came from. Long before Gothic castles and Gotham City, there was London. Crowded streets, foggy mornings, the constant hum of buses and boots. The Civic is practical, reliable, and unpretentious, much like the boy from New Cross who refused to be defined by his past. You can almost picture him behind the wheel on a quiet Los Angeles morning, cap pulled low, windows down, no fanfare, just a man, his thoughts, and the open road. Mercedes-Benz SLSAMG. And then, the roar. This is where refinement meets rebellion. The gull-wing-doored Mercedes-Benz SLSAMG isn't just a car. It's a sculpted beast. Powered by a hand-built 6.2-liter V8, the SLS roars from 0 to 60 in just 3.7 seconds. But for Oldman, it's not about speed. It's about design. It's about the way the gull-wing doors lift like wings, dramatic, theatrical, unapologetically cinematic. The way the leather hugs like a tailored costume. The way the engine hums low like the opening line of a monologue. It's a performance, even when parked. He's not racing, he's arriving. Lexus UX crossover. In contrast to the drama of the SLS, the Lexus UX crossover is all about quiet confidence. This compact luxury hybrid is sleek, efficient, and futuristic. The kind of car you drive when you're done proving anything. Its hybrid engine glides almost silently, a whisper rather than a roar. For a man who once lived in the noise of film sets and after-parties, this car is a meditation on peace, a trip to Palm Springs, a quick visit to a gallery downtown. The Lexus moves like Oldman speaks off-screen, softly, precisely, intentionally. Runge RS model. Now here's a curveball. A true artist's car. The Runge RS is not mass-produced. Each one is hand-built, bespoke, and dripping in vintage racing soul. Its brushed aluminum bodywork harks back to the golden age of motorsport, yet it's engineered with modern sensibility. This is a car for someone who appreciates not just movement, but craftsmanship. Someone who knows that every weld, every stitch, every curve tells a story. Much like acting, it's about layers, the polish beneath the patina. This is Oldman's sculpture on wheels, Porsche Cayenne, and finally, the escape vehicle. The Porsche Cayenne blends power with comfort, luxury with ruggedness. It's the kind of car you choose when you're heading out of the city, to the desert, to the mountains, to a life that doesn't need applause. It's believed Oldman and his wife, Giselle Schmidt, use this for weekend getaways to Palm Springs, where they live part-time in a quiet, sun-washed home far from Hollywood's chaos. It's sturdy, sleek, and elegant, just like their life together. Every car in this collection isn't just driven, it's felt, just like every character Gary Oldman has ever played. But while his garage tells us how he moves, his bank account tells us what decades of transformation can earn, and how he's turned art into quiet fortune. $40 million. That's the estimated net worth of Gary Oldman. A figure that feels almost modest in a town built on inflated egos and extravagant salaries. But when you look closer, it makes sense. Oldman didn't build his fortune through perfume deals or Instagram ads. He built it role by role, with patience, precision, and performances that left audiences breathless. But what makes Gary's fortune feel different is how it's used. Instead of sprawling estates, he owns one home. Artfully chosen, masterfully designed. Instead of collecting Bentleys, he chooses cars for meaning, not status. Instead of buying islands, he invests in books, in people, in stillness. His wealth doesn't shout. It listens, much like the man himself. And when he gives back, it isn't to chase headlines. It's to quietly pay forward what the world once gave him. Philanthropy. For a man who has spent his life vanishing into other people's stories, Gary Oldman has always been surprisingly grounded in his own humanity. He doesn't splash headlines with massive donations. You won't find his name etched in marble on a hospital wing. But behind the scenes, Gary gives in quiet, intentional ways, because he knows what it means to feel lost, to need help, and to be seen. It began with children. In partnership with the SAGAFTRA Foundation, Gary lent his unmistakable voice to Storyline Online, reading to children across the world. The project wasn't just about literacy, it was about connection, about making books feel alive in a world increasingly saturated by screens. Oldman's choice to read wasn't random. It reflected his belief that stories, when told with heart, could shape a life. Then came something closer to the heart. Help, a pediatric cancer charity founded by illusionist Chris Angel. Gary appeared at fundraising events, not for show, but because he'd seen suffering up close. He knew that real magic didn't happen on stage. It happened in hospital rooms, where parents sat quietly beside their children, praying for another day. He's also a known supporter of ALAFA, an organization dedicated to AIDS/HIV relief. At a time when celebrity support for such causes had become trendy or superficial, Oldman's participation remained consistent and sincere. It wasn't about PR, it was about presence. And then there are the quieter contributions, his support of the Motion Picture and Television Fund, MPTF, particularly their renowned Night Before Gala. This exclusive industry event raises millions for entertainment professionals in need, actors, crew members, and retirees often forgotten once the spotlight fades. For Gary, who once treaded boards for pennies and borrowed money for meals, this mission hits close to home. But perhaps the most profound way Oldman gives back is not financial. It's emotional. It's in the roles he chooses. Stories about addiction, about loss, about injustice. It's in his honesty about his own demons, including his long journey through alcoholism. By speaking openly about recovery, by admitting vulnerability, Gary has become a quiet beacon for those still struggling in silence. He doesn't post about it. He doesn't hashtag it. He lives it. And that, in many ways, is his greatest act of compassion. To use his art, his voice, and his visibility not to amplify himself, but to reflect others. The forgotten, the voiceless, the ones he once walked among before the cameras rolled. Because while he may have played kings and killers, spies and poets, Gary Oldman has never forgotten what it means to be human. Personal life. For a man whose on-screen characters have spanned centuries, species, and shades of madness, Gary Oldman in real life is something entirely unexpected. Gentle, private, and beautifully ordinary. Today, he lives in quiet rhythm with his wife, Giselle Schmidt, a writer and art curator. Their love story didn't play out in headlines or red carpets. It unfolded in stillness. They married in 2017 in a small ceremony at the home of Oldman's longtime manager, surrounded by only those who truly mattered. No paparazzi, no front-page photos, just two people choosing peace. Together, they split their time between the Hollywood Hills home, where art and architecture wrap around them like a second skin, and a serene retreat in Palm Springs, where the desert light seems to echo their calm. It's in this space, far from the rush of premieres and press junkets, that Oldman finds himself. He cooks, he reads, he paints. Some mornings begin with tea and silence, others with classical music drifting through open doors. There are no assistants buzzing in the background, no entourage waiting in the wings. Just Gary, barefoot on polished concrete, watching the sun move across the garden floor. Family, for Oldman, is everything. He is a devoted father to 3 sons, Alfie, Gulliver, and Charlie. Alfie, his eldest from his first marriage to actress Leslie Manville, has given him 2 grandchildren, Matilda and Ozzie, who call him Grandpa with the kind of love that no Oscar can match. Gulliver and Charlie, from his later marriage to Donna Fiorentino, remain close, despite the storm of past headlines. And oh, those headlines. Oldman's personal life has not always been tranquil, but perhaps the most remarkable part of Gary Oldman's personal journey is his recovery. In the early 1990s, at the height of his fame, he spiraled into alcoholism. He was arrested. He was lost. But in 1994, he checked himself into rehab. No scandal, no collapse on camera, just a quiet decision to survive. Since 1997, he's been sober, attending meetings, mentoring others, and crediting Alcoholics Anonymous for saving his life. It's a part of his identity he shares not for sympathy, but for solidarity. He doesn't preach about recovery. He lives it, one calm, intentional day at a time. In interviews, he often says he's happiest not at award shows, but home by 6, dinner with the kids, a good book in hand. It's this version of Gary Oldman, not the chameleon, not the myth, but the man, that shines brightest now. No role to play, no camera in sight, just an artist who finally found peace not in applause, but in the sound of silence. If his story moved you, if his home inspired you, or if a single one of his performances ever stayed with you long after the credits rolled, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because every life, like every role, deserves to be seen.